too, and 2 writers. Tonight, inspirational speaker Marcus Gentry talks to us about role models and circumstances that inspire. Tonight on Garrard McClendon Live. Motivation may get you through the day, but inspiration gets you through to the finish. There's something concrete within you that just needs a tipping point. Hey, joining us tonight to share his inspirational choices and how to become inspired is your own personal set of jumper cables. Motivational speaker and author of Respect, How to Unleash Your Personal Power, Marcus Gentry. Mr. Gentry, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Gerard. Thank you so much for having me here. It's my pleasure.
We appreciate you. You know, hey, who or what inspired you this year?
You know, Gerard, I had many things that inspired me this year. I don't think it was any one thing. I'm inspired every time I get an opportunity to wake up. I'm inspired by seeing my father, 88, my mother, 87, still going strong this year in spite of failing health on occasion. I'm inspired by experiences that I had when I recently traveled to Africa, Australia, and Hawaii, and watching things happen with people there. That inspires me to keep going forward.
Yeah, you know, I've got parents that are at and over the age of 75 as well, and it's truly a blessing. But you know, they inspire me every day that I speak with them on the phone. I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, start rapping about what's going to happen. Hey, what do you mean by this?
Well, that's a part of a whole series of things that I created when I was working to find some real methods that young people could use to overcome obstacles, to resist or refuse things that they were approached with. How could they do it and still keep their friends? And so I suggested a few things. One thing I told them is to ask to remove the mask. That means ask people about what it is that they're trying to get them involved in, and then give them some options. Listen, if I do that, this might happen, and then explain all the consequences that come from that. Just start rapping about what'll happen. If all that fails, then you got to sometimes hit the trail, because they say if you stay in a barbershop long enough, eventually you get a haircut.
You're going to get a haircut.
Right.
Sooner or later.
Sometimes you got to get out of there.
You got to get out of there.
Right.
You know, my number tonight is 630-575-TALK, 630-575-TALK. We got Marcus Gentry with us. Energy attractors. Why should we look for these people, Marcus?
It's critical that we look for them, because sometimes we have holes in our energy bucket. Sometimes we get excited, motivated, feel good. We go to a workshop, a conference, read a book, and in a short time, when we go back to the house, go back to the job, go back to the community, we feel drained. So it's important that we find out how we can fill that energy source back up by finding people, circumstances, places that can get us back on point where we need to be.
You know, I'm loving that, Marcus, because many times people confuse motivation and inspiration.
Exactly.
Now, motivation may be something that we get in a day or in a week, and generally it's external. You know, I'm motivated to do this. But when we're inspired, it comes from within. Do you agree, and elaborate?
Totally, I agree that it comes from within. As a matter of fact, oftentimes we're asked, when they see sometimes men of color come, and they think that all we're going to do is a motivational speech or something. But I've really moved beyond that in terms of giving inspiration and giving strategies for overcoming obstacles. Not just something to feel good about, but some ABCs of some things you can do to turn your life around if your desire is strong enough. And then that comes from inside, not just a show that you put on to cover a block of time in a school or a business or something. Yeah,
and you know, I think I've been, for the most part, motivated all year, you know, for one, with this television show, but I've also been inspired. I've been inspired by one Mr. and President-elect Barack Obama. I mean, just an amazing individual who I think is a beautiful, shining example for all American citizens, you know, and I really feel, I don't know, almost a responsibility to have more respect for people and to be more professional in my daily endeavors. What do you think, Marcus?
I definitely agree with that. I think that what happens sometimes, though, when certain people get in the forefront or in the spotlight, sometimes those who don't take the time to dig a little deeper miss the fact that their success has been rooted by surrounding themselves with other positive people who are looking and moving in the same direction.
Yeah.
I mean, we're watching that a lot now as he's building his cabinet and team of people around him. And I think it's always critical, the fact that he's got a supportive wife, he's got a supportive team who are looking in the same direction to accomplish what has to happen. I think that's what helps to make any man, any individual, great itself.
Yeah, and Michelle Obama, I mean, you talk about, as Barack Obama, he calls her a rock.
Right.
I mean, what an individual to be married to. You know, Marcus, do we have more power than we think? I mean, many times we wake up in the morning and we say, you know, I'm just going to go to work and put my 8 hours in and go home, and that's pretty much it. You know, more power than we think?
Absolutely, we have more power than we think, but we don't realize that sometimes unless we get around people that can help us see what we have in us. And sometimes people can see in us things that we aren't able to see even in ourselves. They say that you can raise a lion in captivity and he will stay relatively domestic, but if that lion ever goes into the jungle around other lions, it will never return to that same level of domestication again. And I think that can happen to us if we can get a glimpse of who we potentially could be. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, you know, that's big. You know, the singer and music producer and performer Sting said something interesting when he wrote the album The Dream of the Blue Turtles. You know, he was talking about how he had this dream of playing with musicians that were better than he. And of course, that's when he hired Mr. Marsalis and a host of others to play with him. And sometimes we have to get around blue turtles, people who are better than us, so that we can become better. Hold tight, Marcus, and still to come on tonight's show, your inspirational phone calls and Marcus Gentry, what has inspired you this year? Give me a call right now, 630-575-TALK. Garrard McClendon Live continues.